Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakio. Thank you for joining me this evening for Dharma Sunday, where we take canonical Buddhist teachings and tie them with everyday life. The title of today's talk is Being Buddhist on Halloween. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. So today is October 31st, which in the United States is Halloween, which means wherever we are, there are probably children and possibly some adults running up and down the street, house to house, gathering candy and other goods, saying trick or treat every time they arrive at someone's doorstep. However, this does raise a question for a practicing Buddhist. How do we relate to Halloween? Should we celebrate Halloween? What does it mean for us? So I did some research and I found an article which describes exactly what Halloween is and how it came to be. It's at history.com, www.history.com. That's the History Channel website. And the title of the article is Halloween 2021. I don't see a author here, but let's read a little bit about the history of Halloween, and then we'll talk more about how it relates to Buddhist practice. Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 31st, and Halloween 2021 will occur on Sunday, October 31st. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor All Saints. Soon, All Saints' Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows' Eve, and later, Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats. Ancient origins of Halloween. Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, pronounced Samhain. The Celts who lived 2,000 years ago, mostly in the area that is now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France, celebrated their new year on November 1st. The day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain. It was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to Earth. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids, or Celtic priests, to make predictions about the future. For people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. To commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which they had extinguished earlier that evening, from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming year. It goes on after that, but I'll stop there for the sake of time. Again, the article is Halloween 2021. It's at www.history.com. So, what does that have to do with Buddhism? Well, one thing that I find interesting about the history of Halloween is that it has to deal a lot with darkness, a lot to deal with death, a lot to deal with the things that scare us, as not just Buddhists, but as human beings from time to time. Like the article said, the boundary between the living and the dead is thin. Ghosts can cross over into our world. What to do? And it's important to note that as Buddhists, we don't run away from the darkness. We don't run away from the scary things Quite the opposite, in fact. If you look at Buddhist history and Buddhist traditions, we have a long record, if you will, of taking the darkness, taking the scary things in life, and transforming it into good, to something that's healthy and life-affirming. We can see this in the history of Tibetan Buddhism and the working of Padmasambhava, also known as Guru Rinpoche, who was an Indian Tantric Buddhist master who went to Tibet circa 8th or 9th century. Now, when he went there, he found the Bon shamanic tradition, which was not dissimilar from the Druid tradition that the Celts celebrated, very much focused on nature worship and animism, very much focused on spirits and deities living in rocks and trees and caves, etc. But what Guru Rinpoche did was wonderful. Instead of being scared off by these supernatural influences, he used the power of ritual to transform these entities into Dharma protectors. Think about that for a moment. That evil river spirit that used to flood your crops every year, yeah, he works for us now. He's ensuring that this is a safe place for us to practice the Dharma. This is why even today, if you go into many Vajrayana Buddhist centers, you see deities and spirits all over the place, dakinis, etc. Because there's a tradition there of taking the spirits of the place you live and transforming them into Dharma protectors, taking the darkness, transforming it into light, using it for good. We also find this in traditional Buddhist cosmology in the telling of the story of Hungry Ghost. So in Buddhism, we have something called the Six Destinies, and these are 6 cosmic realms that we can be reborn into based on our karma. Starting at the bottom, we have the Hell realms, followed by the Hungry Ghost realms, the animal realms, the human realm, the demigod realm, and finally the God or heavenly realms. And we're told as Buddhists that this life, the human life, is the ideal one to have because we have just enough suffering that we want to practice the Dharma and realize enlightenment, something that the demigods and the gods lack. But we don't have so much suffering that it makes it impossible to practice the Dharma, which is the case for animals, hungry ghosts, and the demons living in hell. Now, what's interesting about the hungry ghosts and how we deal with them in Buddhism is that we don't turn away from them. We don't run from the hungry ghosts. Quite the opposite, in fact. We treat them with wisdom and compassion. Oftentimes, after Buddhist meals, we're told to leave a portion of our food untouched. And we put that into a collection bowl, which is then used as an offering for the hungry ghosts. The hungry ghosts are beings who have very thin, long necks and large bellies. Very scary to look at. Some of them, in fact, according to Buddhist cosmology, spit fire from their mouths. So even when they eat, even when they drink, they can't consume the food. Not fun to look at. But instead of turning away from them, we offer them food, we offer them water so that we can end their suffering, even for just a moment. It's also traditional at the end of Buddhist services to do something called a merit transference. So the teacher may say something, put their hands in gassho and recite, "May the merit of this practice benefit all beings without exception." The idea being that we're not only creating good merit for ourselves, creating good karma for ourselves, but we're also doing it for all sentient beings, working on their behalf so they and we can realize enlightenment. So in this act of feeding the hungry ghosts, what we are doing as Buddhists is practicing compassion, and we are practicing generosity. Compassion is one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, or sublime mind states, that we as Buddhists are told to cultivate in our minds in order to realize enlightenment, in order to manifest our Buddha nature in daily life. In addition to that, generosity is one of the 6 perfections or 6 paramitas that we are told, again, to practice and cultivate in our daily lives so that we can follow the example of the Bodhisattvas, keeping our vows to save all sentient beings from suffering. So, with this in mind, we as Buddhists can and should celebrate Halloween wholeheartedly if we feel the desire to, because it gives us the opportunity to practice generosity and practice compassion towards the countless hungry ghosts that come to our door in costume. We're able to end their suffering for a short time, whether we're that house that gives out apples and carrots on Halloween or the house that gives out candy. We're able to show kindness to other sentient beings, and in doing so, we not only change them, we change something in us as well. We plant positive karmic seeds in our minds that eventually, I should say, grow into our Buddha nature, our pure and undefiled mind. And as we do this, we move both ourselves and others one step closer to awakening. Amitabha. So, that was the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. I'll just end with a few announcements. So this is Dharma Sunday. We do this every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I take some topic from the news or popular culture and I comment on it from a Buddhist perspective, tying canonical Buddhist teachings with daily life. On Wednesdays, we do a practice that's a little bit more involved, also at 7 p.m. Eastern, also at this channel, and that's meditation and sutra study. That involves a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from a Buddhist scripture, followed by a Dharma talk. So, I hope to see you there. Until next time, happy Halloween, and Amitabha.